Okay, this has been really, really, really requested. I haven't listened to it yet, so this is a live reaction. Let's get into Chloe Bailey doing Feeling Good. That's right off the bat. That's really interesting. I know that Chloe does a lot of the production for when she's singing with her sister, and you can kind of tell she's flexing her production chops here. So usually, the introduction to Feeling Good is in 12/8, I think. Yeah, it's in 12/8, and then you have your dotted, I believe, half notes. Anyway, it's usually do 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 do, right? So right off the bat, she's playing with time in a very, very different way. And it makes it kind of I don't know if it is syncopated, but it feels syncopated, right? It's like the way she's playing with rhythm here is super, super cool. It's really intelligent. I don't think Chloe gets enough credit for her musicianship. This is really slick, like a really cool way to play with rhythm. I think that's so cool. Okay. Okay. This is what's so cool about Chloe being like a really good performer, is that when she's figuring out production stuff like this, she can literally, I think, envision what she can do, right? Like from a performance element, she's giving herself stuff to work with, which is her getting extremely specific. Like that might sound like what just happened might seem like a really, really small thing, but it's small things like that that push something from good to great. I think that's really clever to put that in there and also give her the opportunity to make like really slick moves from a performance point of view, not just a production point of view. It's really cool. So she has that interesting rhythm that we talked about with the first like little layer, right? The wow, wow, wow. So there's a development in like musical development, right? So you can develop melody, harmony, rhythm, right? And so what she's doing here is she's making it a rhythmic development, right? So she has wow, 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 and then she goes bow, 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 right? The kick drum, and then she goes boom, 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 right? That part of it. It's developing the song through rhythm, and usually, this tune starts out very, very, very slow, and I think it usually works. I mean, I don't think Nina Simone made a mistake, having it build up slowly, but she's still respecting the slow build up while also adding her own little development. You know what I mean? She's making it her own, and she's giving it a lot of different musical ideas than people generally don't insert into this tune. I mean, this tune is so covered, it's so done, that it's kind of difficult to come up with something new, but she really has done something new with it. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life. Okay. There's a lot of cleverness that's going on here. So what she's doing here is, okay, this is really cool from a vowel point of view, just from the vocal performance of it. New life, right? Like really, that's not the vowel, right? But it gives it this sass. It gives it, I think, like a little bit of something, right? And then what she's doing with the EQ is she's bumping up her like the bottom, right? She's just making this bottom a lot more lush than it would be just in the microphone by itself. And I have no problem with people using post-production for expressiveness, right? That's part of why Chloe is so good, is she knows her way around post-production really well. Listen to this mix. That kick drum is not interfering with the lowness of that note. Part of that is the vowel, but part of it is how she's handling the little bass boost that she's got there. And then the other part of it is the reverb. So there's a front to back thing that you can do with reverb, right? The more reverb you put, the farther back in the mix it goes. And this kick has almost no reverb on it, and then her voice has this nice subtle reverb. Right? And I guess maybe there's a flange on there too, but it's so cool the way that all comes together. That's so cool. Okay, so now we're finally getting into the kind of the well-known, like, boom, 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 right? We're getting to that well-known part. And the way she's handled this is also really, really different. Ordinarily, like, EDM remixes are kind of cringe when you come into, like, jazz and stuff like that. But because Chloe is so knowledgeable about the idioms, she's been doing jazz for a long time. She's been doing R&B for a long time. Like, this is a woman who's a musician as well as a producer. And so it's not cringe at all. So, like, brass has that certain, like, upper, like, kind of distortion to it. Right? And so does this. She's playing with, she's using freaking, what's the word? Synthesizers. She's using synthesizers to create something very, very similar to a horn section, but she's also keeping it low end to make it in the style that she's doing it in. It's really clever. Like, this doesn't work if you don't really understand how the original song worked, and it doesn't work unless you really understand the instrumentation and how to mimic the instrumentation using frequencies, using synthesizers, right? So this is not just really good musicianship, it's really good audio design and sound design. And this is something I give a lot of credit to. I hear this a lot with R&B singers. R&B singers, I feel like, are incredibly, like, they know how to use their voices in a lot of different ways, and I mean a lot of different ways. And one of the things she's doing here is she's giving rhythmic emphasis to contrast. Like, it's not right on the beat. It's like, it's interesting what she's doing with it. Right, how I feel. Right, so there's some syncopation there, and there's what's called a glottal stop. So let's explain that. A glottal stop is basically when you're on a vowel, not a consonant, you're on a vowel, and then you just kind of stop it. And that's something you don't want to do, like, all the time. It's just, your folds are kind of coming together in a not so subtle way. So you don't want to do it when you're super up high, and you don't want to do it often. But she does it, like once or twice in the middle of that, and it ends up really working out. She's being cognizant of the mix, and she's being cognizant of the vocal performance. She's putting a lot of pieces together that you only really get to put together when you've kind of been doing all of those pieces for a really long time. It's kind of cool. Okay, that's really cool. So, like, usually that's right around when the song gets super, super epic, right? And you get a lot of runs, and you get a lot of all this other stuff. And she still hasn't dropped this sort of the atmospheric quality of the mix on her voice, like a lot of reverb. The EQ is taking out a lot. But she's adding this epicness by musically. She's developing it by going higher, right? And so it's more intense. And it's a really cool way of developing the track by just kind of using her vocals. Not much has changed, but she's doing little things every bit at a time, right? She's just kind of adding little nuggets on top of each other to develop it. She's already done rhythmic development. She's brought in, sound design and tone as a way to develop it with the boom, 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 right? And then she's also doing now some vocal chicanery and boulder dash, which is really cool, to develop it melodically. So it's really nice. It's a new life. It's a new I think some of the decisions she's making here, I don't think you would ever figure this sort of stuff out unless you are kind of used to dancing, or like there's a certain element of like I'm I'm a performer here, right? And well, not me, but her. She's a really experienced performer, and a lot of the decisions she's making are basically, what can I do with this in a performance, right? Like, if you're just thinking about the music, this moment, I don't think this happens, right? Like, it doesn't make sense unless it's performed, and it doesn't have to be performed like that specifically, but it's just really smart. Like, that gives her these nice little moments to break up the tune and keep people's attention, which is hard. It's hard to keep people's attention, you know? Like, whenever you're performing, someone could be on their phone, right? Like, you have to be more entertaining than, like, the entire internet. That's a real challenge, right? And so little moments like these are really important for artists to be able to do. And I say artists, not musicians, because you need more than just musicianship in this one to be the artist that can capture attention. Like I said, right? And then she goes kind of back into what the song is very known for, right? And that's really cool, like, harmony effects. I imagine that might be like some Antares plugins. I don't know. I think this is really, really smart. I wasn't looking forward to this initially because I'm like, I've heard this tune a gajillion times. I do this tune. I'm bored of this tune. But this is something really new and fresh that I did not expect. So I'm glad that you all forced me to watch it, because classic Chloe or Hallie or any of the artists that y'all suggest, this is brilliant. So kudos to Chloe. I think this is a job well done.